Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's incredibly powerful, but honestly, pretty overlooked. It's this idea of humble obedience. Serving a purpose that's way bigger than ourselves, even when there's no one around to give us a pat on the back. So let me just start with a question for you. What if the greatest, most significant thing you ever do is something nobody ever sees? I mean, no applause, no recognition, nothing. That's a pretty challenging thought, right? But that's the core idea we're really going to unpack today. To get into that, our starting point is this incredible sentence from the book of Joshua. It's basically a summary of his entire life's work. And what's so fascinating about it is that it doesn't mention his famous military victories, not at all. Instead, it focuses on his quiet, complete faithfulness to a mission that he inherited. And that brings us right to our first section, obedience without an audience. We're going to dig into Joshua's story a bit more to see what this actually looks like when the rubber meets the road. I mean, just think about what that phrase really means. He left nothing undone. That tells you this wasn't about him picking and choosing the glorious, high-profile assignments. Nope. This was about a thorough, painstaking obedience to every single detail. His real value wasn't in the victories everyone saw, but in his complete, behind-the-scenes faithfulness. And this kind of commitment, well, it has a name: humble obedience. It's the decision to faithfully do your duty just because it's the right thing to do. It's not for the praise, it's not for your status, it's just for the integrity of the work itself. But let's be honest, this ideal of humble obedience, it often runs right into a very powerful, very human feeling. And that brings us to our second section, our deep-seated desire for recognition. So the source material points out this core tension that exists in all of us. On one side, it suggests we're made with a purpose, to faithfully obey God's will. But on the other side, we have this really strong, distorted desire to just follow our own will. And yeah, to get the credit for whatever we do. And it's really important to get this. Wanting recognition isn't some weird personal flaw. It's a deeply ingrained human instinct. We're pretty much wired to look for validation and to want our hard work to be seen and appreciated. And that is the central challenge we all face when we try to live this out. So, if that desire for credit is so natural, the obvious question is, how in the world can we ever get past it? That's what leads us to our third section, the power to serve humbly. We're going to ask where the strength to live this way actually comes from. The source material lays out a kind of spiritual journey here in 3 steps. It starts with formation, our original design, which was geared for obedience. Then comes distortion, the fall into self-interest. But finally, it offers purification, the potential to be restored in Christ and to get our desires lined up with our original purpose again. And this, of course, brings us to the ultimate model. Jesus' obedience is presented as the supreme act of humble service. Think about it. He accomplishes what Christians see as the most significant act in history, not in a moment of triumph, but in one of total public humiliation and abandonment. It's the ultimate picture of serving without ever looking for praise. Okay, so we've got the example and we've got the theological framework. But how do we actually live this out? Let's get really practical in this final section, putting humility into practice. This is where it gets personal. This is the question we can all ask ourselves. Let's forget the big stage for a second. Am I doing the little, unseen things with faithfulness and integrity? Do I act the same exact way when I'm completely alone as I do when my boss or my family or my friends are watching? And here are some really concrete steps the source suggests for building this kind of mindset. Try volunteering for the tasks that nobody else wants, the ones that don't come with a fancy title. Train yourself to focus on the purpose of the work, not on the praise you might get for it. Do your best, absolutely, but then just let go of the outcome. And finally, try to see your work not as a transaction for recognition, but as a gift you're offering up freely. Ultimately, everything we've talked about really boils down to this. After looking at the example of Joshua and the model of Christ, the final question isn't just, can we do this? But are we willing to? Are you ready to serve a purpose that's greater than your own recognition? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.